And welcome back to Fnatic versus Origen, where Origen have finally managed to fight back and giving us a 2-1 scoreline. Now, Vedius, it was an interesting game, to say the least, from multiple angles, but do you think there's
It was a lot of fun.
Do you think there's any learnings that Origen can take out of that game?
Yeah, get a proactive jungler that has lanes that it can play around. The thing about this comp as well for Origen was that they didn't need to play through bot. They could have also played through top because of how strong the Maokai setup is onto champions like Gangplank. So I think that OG actually had a lot of options in terms of where they could gank, and I think the opposite was true for Fnatic. So I think Fnatic made it hard for themselves by going for the draft that they did, and we'll see how both teams adapt. Obviously, Fnatic sticking with the blue side, they have choice of side given that they lost the previous game, so they're going to stay on blue. Their bans look like they're going to be exactly the same as well. Yeah, and I think that when they look at last game, they don't sit there and think, oh, there's a problem champion that we need to get rid of. It was more like oh, maybe we shouldn't die as much as we did. And
I mean, there was one problem champion I could identify in that game, and it was a Trundle. Had a few issues for Fnatic. So I wonder if this time they'll prioritize getting Hylissang
I think Xerxe will
on
be
the first
picked.
rotation.
I think Xerxe will be first picked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it is. Mate, you're God.
Well, I think it's just because they recognize that the center shouldn't be the priority anymore, and OG don't play it. So they're not actually afraid of giving it over if Origen do play it. And so they can just, if they really want to play it, they can play it in the second half. Or second rotation rather, and they know that it's one of Xerxe's best champions. So if you take away the Karthus, you take away the Gragas, Xerxe hasn't shown to have an effective impact on anything outside of what he's played so far. So yeah, just go. And again, like, look, the center isn't prioritized, so yeah. Fnatic is on the same wavelength as us, and they're like, these guys don't play center, so we don't have to worry about it. And now they have a lot of freedom, because if Origen don't lock in their support now, which they probably won't, it means that Fnatic can get themselves something like a Zyra Khan if they want to, or they can go for a Kai'Sa here if because the thing about Aphelios is he's actually been nerfed on the current patch, which means his laning is weaker, and while he can still be oppressive, it's nowhere near as oppressive as it was, which means champions like Kai'Sa, who scale very well and can act as a very effective dive onto champions like him, I think pair very nicely into him. So I like the cheeky Olaf over there.
Well, it hasn't been locked in yet, so it could still be an Olaf pick, Vedius. Like, I
don't think they're gonna play Olaf again, mate.
I agree with you, but I'm leaving the options open. It's the center locked in, might be teamed up with a Time Kench. I do want to bring attention to the very early Rumble lock from Origen. It's not common that you see Rumble locked this early on in a draft.
Yeah, and I accidentally wrote down Rumble in the wrong place. The blind Rumble does surprise me. I'm not sure why they've done it. They didn't want to lock in the jungler, unless it's Jungle Rumble, which it might be. It was an OG pick from Xerxe back when he joined the league in 2017. I think he joined the league in 2017. Yeah. With the Unicorns of Love, I think. And he used to play Rumble, Zac, and there was one more that he used to play that I can't remember off the top of my head. Warwick, yeah, that was his other one, you're correct. And yeah, so there's a possibility of it. I don't expect it. I think that it's more likely going to be in the mid or top lane. I know that Alphari is a pretty competent Rumble player, and I'm trying to think now what the bans suggest, because with the Yasuo taken off the board, I'm not actually sure why. I guess they want to deny the Gragas Yasuo combo, because I can't think of any specific picks that you'd be afraid of if you want to take away the Yasuo. I really like this Jarvan ban. I think it's super smart, because Jarvan's one of the few champions that, while having very high early game impact, will always offer late game value just because of the amount of utility that he can provide, and he can just go full tank. So I think denying that from Origen is great, and if you force Xerxe onto one of these early game junglers like Lee Sin, which he doesn't really play, Elise, which he's probably not going to play because you already have Rumble, or a Olaf or Rek'Sai, as Origen, you're going to feel pretty comfortable. So yeah, I think that the bans so far from Fnatic are looking pretty good.
I agree with that. I wonder if Zac is one other option that I could see Xerxe going towards. It provides
You're right. Yeah, it's not terrible. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with the Jarvan ban being strong against that. There's Alphari's Maokai being banned away as well. So Bwipo wants an easier lane in the top lane, or one where Tree just isn't sitting on him.
That could mean that Origen go for a Gangplank here, because with one of the big, I'm not going to say counters, but with the Maokai taken off the boards, I think it does open up the GP, but then you're obviously saving your jungle pick for last, which you typically don't want to do. So Are they really going to do Olaf again?
Nah, it's going to be Xerxe. It's going to be Xerxe. Locked in for Xerxe. It's his third most played. He's got 2 games on it, so it's tied with Elise and Zach after the Gragas and the Karthus were removed. Fnatic here, options for their jungle, their top lane and their mid lane. And Aatrox has made its way through picks and bans so far, and Bwipo is a very strong Aatrox player.
I mean, he kind of made a name for himself on it, right? Like, it's one of the champions that teams would just respect ban away from him because of how talented he was on it. And speaking of respect champions, Nemesis and his Cassio are definitely a match made in heaven. It's one of his best champions. It's something that whenever he locks in, he always has a good performance on it. So it looks like Fnatic going for a similar approach to what OG went last game, scaling Teamfights. They have good scaling in the bot lane, pretty defensive. They have Cassio, which has okay gank setup, but when paired up with the Gragas, you have a lot of damage. Now they just need a strong AD top laner to help provide a lot of damage, and I think Aatrox fits the bill perfectly. So I think Fnatic have got a pretty well-rounded comp right now. I think that they have easy lanes that they can play around in top and mid, and obviously that's been the focus for Fnatic this series. They've kind of abandoned bot lane and allowed them, or left them rather, to their own devices. And so I think that, yeah, I think Fnatic's comp has kind of got a bit of everything, and I'm curious as to how Origen is going to round things out, because I think the Xerxe pick makes their comp a little bit awkward. So they're going to, so they're going to stick with the Gangplank. So the problem right now that Origen have is that in the top lane at very early levels, GP will have prio, but usually this matchup is slightly more Aatrox favored because of how aggressive you can be. I think that you don't have a lot of gank setup in the top lane. I think it's hard to gank mid lane outside of level 6, which means you have to prioritize on finding kills in the bot lane. So the goal for Origen should be to do exactly what they did previously, and the only hope that you have if you're a Fnatic fan is that Hylissang doesn't have the same performance that he had in the early game of last game. If they just keep playing safe and they avoid the risk of a dive, then they should be pretty safe. And the thing is, Nukeduck can't guarantee prio against a Cassio because she's much safer in terms of the 1v1, and every time Nukeduck tries to approach the wave, he's going to get punished by the poke from Cassio. So I don't think it's going to be as easy for OG to be able to roam down and set up plays like they could in game 1. And I think that Hylissang is going to respect Xerxe a lot more than he did before, but you have to bear in mind Alphari's Gangplank ultimate can also impact the bot lane. So this game is all going to be about, can Xerxe get upset fed again? If he can't, then Fnatic is set up to take game 4 and move on to the next round against Mad Lions next week.
Well, we'll see. I wonder if Nukeduck runs Predator boots in the mid lane on the Rumble. We have seen it before for those roams down towards the bottom lane, if that's where Origen want to invest. Of course, Xerxe better ganking top lane when you are on red side, because you can come in from behind the lane, or ganking bot lane when you're on blue side, because you can come in from behind the lane. It's not the easiest gank path for Xerxe if he wants to go down towards that bottom lane, but there are still avenues for him to approach. Hylissang having 2 health bars will probably help him out just a tad. I
also think Hylissang's a really good Tahm Kench. Like, he's played it a few times this split. So I think champions where he can just get into the thick of things. He's also running the exhaust. So I wouldn't be too worried looking at this. I think that right now Fnatic is really set up for success. I think they have, you want to talk about OG comfort picks from last game? This is like Fnatic comfort picks across the board. Gragas, the Aatrox, and the Cassio are like 3 of Fnatic's most comfortable picks right now. So I think Fnatic is really looking good coming into this game.
Let's get into game 4 of Fnatic versus OG. And Vedi, you were talking about comfort picks. I've had a quick look at the numbers. Bwipo played 1 Aatrox game this split, won it, unkilled. Nemesis played.
Well, that was the Nocturne top game, mate.
Yeah. Nemesis played 4 Cassiopeia games this split, undefeated on that champion. Selfmade has played 6 Gragas games, 83% win rate on that champ. Hylissang, 100% win rate on the Tahm Kench. And during the regular season, Rekkles played 1 game on Senna and they won. He's only lost 1 game of the 4 he has played so far on Senna. So it is 5 he's played so far on Senna, including this one. But yes, there were a lot of champions that Fnatic are very comfortable on, and Origen do feel like they put themselves in a little bit of a one horse, or not one. They put a lot of their eggs in one basket in saying we have to get upset ahead. If we don't get upset ahead, we can't really do that much.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. We'll see if they can pull it off. Excuse me. What I think is interesting is that Xerxe is starting on bot side of the map. Xerxe has very strong early ganks, so often you will see Xerxes go for level 3 ganks. One of the old Xerxe clears was to do a full red side clear into then level 3 gank, and I was kind of expecting him to do blue into Gromp into red to then look for a gank, but it looks like he's going to skip the Gromp, go into Wolves, which is obviously like perfectly fine because the Xerxe clears the jungle so quickly with her Q, but usually you will look for a gank around level 3 because of how easy it is to tunnel in, get that knock up, and then as long as your laners have enough damage, you can find a pretty effective kill. The question is, will he actually look for it? Because it looks like that he is going for his rafters, so his priority is not going for any early ganks for the time being.
Now, getting that extra experience from the jungle early on, of course, Wolves give you less experience than a Gromp, so if he'd done blue into Wolves into red, he wouldn't have hit level 3. Nemesis stepping forward here to get some vision, knows that the Razorbeaks have been cleared, and Xerxe will just go around to do his red. We saw a little bit of trading in the bottom lane. Rekkles taking a bit of a bad trade, but he has the Piercing Darkness, so he can just heal that up pretty easily, and it shouldn't be too much of a bother for the Fnatic bottom lane.
So you can see that Selfmade has done a full bot side clear. Xerxe is now looking to get information on where enemy jungler is. He has now spotted out Selfmade. He could go for a bit of a cheeky smite steal, but Selfmade does have information as well.
Puts the ward across the wall. Xerxe looking for the knock up into the Q. Selfmade gets it. Oh no, wait. Yes, Selfmade does get it. He's got blue as well. Good smite there from the Fnatic
good
jungler.
Combo there from the Q plus smite plus E combo. Bwipo's super low. Is he just going to do a drive-by here?
He is. He's looking for the gank. Bwipo lands the Inferno Chain, splashes forward, trying to pull Xerxe back, but now Alphari takes the turret aggro. Xerxe has to flash away from Selfmade, who's flashing forward as well. Ends up being 2 flashes on the side of Fnatic to 1 on Origen.
So it looks like that Bwipo got very low in terms of these early trades, and like we talk about it every game, right? Gangplank, levels 1 to 3, one of the strongest laners in the game. The passive burn is just so obnoxious, and OG was setting up for a dive. We talked about how Xerxe could look for an early gank, and after getting level 3, he decided to just go straight to top. It was obviously very dangerous, because Selfmade was in the area, but as you highlighted, Medic, 2 flashes for 1, definitely going to be worth it, and also a pretty big CS advantage in favor of Alphari right now. So after going back, grabbing himself an early Doran's Blade, he's going to feel quite comfortable in this 1 versus 1. He's going to try and keep up the pressure, as we can see across the board. That advantage going in favor of upset, as you would typically expect in these fasting lanes. Meanwhile, small advantage for Nemesis in the mid lane. Oh,
Bwipo with a huge trade onto Alphari there. I mean, Alphari has the oranges, so he's okay for the moment. Hylissang going to be able to get away from this gank in the bottom lane. Hook doesn't connect on Rekkles, protecting the dodge. But Rekkles just runs straight back underneath this turret and answers with a little bit of damage of his own. I do want to come back to that, the fact that Selfmade and Bwipo have burnt their flashes. It makes it actually very easy for Alphari to lane here as well, because even if he gets caught out by Bwipo, if Selfmade's coming in, he doesn't have to predict the body slam flash. He can just wait for the body slam and then flash away afterwards. So Rekkles actually using heal there in the bottom lane. He's a little bit nervous that Destiny was going to land the flay, as Selfmade is just waiting around the corner.
He was he realized he got too close to the wave and that he was in flare range, so he used heal to increase the movement speed to just get out of flare range before the animation came through. So definitely very hesitant, but like I think we were both looking at that thresh and thinking, yeah, he could definitely land flare right now, and so it's very understandable why Rekkles would do that. Definitely a small mistake on his part as the pressure continues to come out.
Oh, good hook tank there from Hylissang. I saw the hook coming out after the Gravitum root landed. I was nervous for Rekkles, but Hylissang standing in the way of the hook. This is one of the benefits of, you know, if you commonly get caught out by skill shots, play a champion that wants to get caught out by skill shots when they're aimed at your teammates. Works for Hylissang.
Ooh, I like what Fnatic's bot lane is doing right now. They're setting up a bit of a freeze. This is going to keep the wave pushing in their favor. And notice how it stops Upset from going back to base, because he's like, okay, this isn't okay. We're going to lose way too much farm, and Rekkles and Hylissang are going to set up the wave too optimally. So we've got to push this out. In an ideal world, they want to push this all the way up to the tower. So you'll see Upset approaching, and then when it's underneath the tower, he'll disengage. So now Upset and our Destiny rather can get a safe recall without too much worry. The risk, of course, of that play is Selfmade could have shown up, set up a gank, and then because Upset and Destiny have overstayed, they obviously die in that exchange, but that doesn't end up happening.
Destiny staying around to catch the wave, trying to do the same thing on the other side, because Fnatic obviously will want to hard push it, knowing that Upset on Aphelios has backed. So the support's duty is to make sure that that wave doesn't crash into the tower, or at least to be able to hold it for a little while You can see Rekkles here is going to try and trade in. Actually, with the last embrace, that's a catch going out. Bwipo pops the world over in the top lane. Selfmade's on the top side of the map as well, but with the cannon barrage coming out, Bwipo shouldn't be long for the world. First blood goes over to Alphari. Destiny had to burn Flash, I believe, in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so the bright side for Origen is that while their lanes are difficult to gank outside of the bot 2v2, the fact that they were able to burn that very early flash due to the early pathing from Xerxe means that they can come back to top lane and actually get a kill onto Bwipo. This has put Alphari in a fantastic position because not only does he now have an even bigger CS advantage,
oh,
but
Destiny's dead. Destiny's dead, even with the heal coming out, but they're looking to turn it around. The Ignite going down as Rekkles gets gobbled up, eaten up. He's done. Destiny might even survive. Oh my goodness. Fnatic baited in, Destiny able to survive for a moment. The Tongue Lash doesn't connect, it's a double for Origen in the bottom lane. And what a superb start it is for Origen in this game.
And it ends in disaster for Fnatic's duo. They looked like they were set up for success, but it ends up floundering, and we'll get a look at that in a second. As Xerxe, he's been sitting in this top lane for a while. He's been waiting for his prey to overstep, and the second Bwipo shows up, they're able to find that quick kill. But here we see Destiny taking a huge amount of damage as he tries to freeze the way for his AD carry. Yes, Upset is a level down, but of course he then picks that back up. And then the collapse starts to come through. Destiny and Upset, they want to... Oh, he uses Hex, but I don't know what Destiny's doing here, honestly. Like, that was a good hook and a great exhaust, but the action isn't over yet.
Void Rush coming out. Bwipo trying to land the Darking Blade, but in the end, Alphari and Xerxe will get the kill. Second kill of the game for Alphari, and this top lane is quickly snowballing away from Fnatic.
I mean, Medic.
Yep. Silver Scrape.
This is... Let's not jump to conclusions. Let's not jump to conclusions, but... Origen seem to be finding a formula for success right now, or Fnatic seems to be collapsing. Because this is the second time now, where, like in the last game, Hylissang was getting caught out by ganks, right? That happens, you know, you get ganked. It's not a big deal. But now they're losing 2v2, right? Like, Rekkles was in our all flow. Many people thought, like, I put Hylissang as my best support of the split, and now he's getting hooked once again.
He does have the thick skin, but the box is coming down. Upset and Destiny are a level up here. Hylissang tried to turn on to Destiny. You can see Upset steps in front of him, trying to get the Devour, and Destiny will fall 1-for-1, but it's Hylissang who gets the kill, and now Upset is going to open up on Rekkles. However, Upset will take a lot of damage, needs to switch over his guns if he wants to heal up towards that Severum. The 2v2 coming out in Fnatic's favor there, but still, Upset now 3 kills in Vedius.
So, yes, that exchange was definitely the best case scenario for Fnatic. Even though they were a level down, they were even able to find a successful 2 versus 2. So, props to Fnatic there. But the problem is the kill went on to Hylissang. And as you mentioned, Upset is the one that secured that other kill. And as our observers highlight, 3.7k gold on Upset. And remember what we were talking about? Medic, who needed to get ahead? Who was the priority to get ahead in this comp? For Origen, it was Upset. And he doesn't need his jungler, they're just straight up winning the 2 versus 2, so that gives the freedom for Xerxe to just hard commit to the top side of the map. So now they have 2 winning lanes, and now they're looking to contest the Infernal.
Xerxe has the level advantage, but Selfmade able to land the smite. Fnatic will be able to walk out of this one. And I know we're talking so much about Upset, but the reason we do is because he and Rekkles are key carries for their respective teams. When you look at Origen and you look at how they are able to win these games, it's all about getting Upset ahead. He's got the second highest KDA in the league, the second highest damage a minute as an AD carry, and he falls behind in CS a little bit in lane, but if you can get him ahead, he can really take the game by the scruff of the neck.
I mean, after Kazi's performance yesterday, there's obviously been a lot of debate around who our second best AD carries are, but when we just look at the numbers, Upset and Rekkles are our 2 best performing AD carries from the regular season. So coming into this matchup, a lot of eyes were going to be put into this 2 versus 2 in the bot lane, especially when you look at the support difference. Like, Hylissang has been praised by many as the best or second best support in our league, and Destiny has not even been put in the conversation for top 3. Some are even critical enough to say that he's not even in the conversation for top 5. And when you look at how the game, for the most part, expectations were like, okay, well, they can't even deal with the Senazillion. But now Upset and Destiny are winning these 2 versus 2. And I can already hear fans. It's the classic Bjergsen perspective, you know, like, put Rekkles on a carry. You know, why is he the support? Why is he the one standing back? And when you look at those stats, that's not because he was playing things like Senna, Medic. It's because he was the one getting Misfortune. He was getting Aphelios, and we haven't seen Rekkles on that yet. But based on the way Origen is playing, they might have to force that as we're going into a fight.
Abyssal Void's used there by Hylissang to try and join this. He's going to land the smite. Bwipo with the World Ender. They're looking to try and pick up that Eye of the Herald, but I don't know if Origen can approach us too easily. Now, Nukeduck does have the ult. Will Origen just settle for the fact that Fnatic don't get the Herald? That seems to be the case. They've gone back to farming. They say, okay, we can get some lanes, waves, we can get some CS. And Fnatic...
But look, look at the wave states, Medic. Like, the mid wave just gets pushed in. The top wave gets given full control over for Alphari. And yes, while it does disappear and Origen aren't able to pick that one up, Fnatic lost a lot of map control in that situation, allowing... Look, Upset gets a reset faster. He's going to start making his way down to bot lane. The Rumble... Oh, okay, the Rumble didn't choose to reset. I thought Nukeduck also decided to do it, but he's going to hold off for a little bit. Destiny gets a good reset off as well. So, Fnatic members are going to be a little slower back to lane. But for the most part, still overall pretty even trade.
Actually looks like Nukeduck is taking a bit of an adventure here. Getting a ward in by the red buff. Very good for spotting Selfmade out as his camp is up in a little while. Upset in a very strong position. For Essence Reaver finished now on this AD carry. Xerxe is waiting. He knows. He knows that Selfmade is here. He's going to tunnel in. It lands the knockup on Selfmade. Selfmade's going to try and get out and has to flash. Oof. And that's a 2-level advantage for Xerxe in the jungle now, Vedius.
Yeah, but I'm not quite sure what happened there for Xerxe, because normally... I know what happened there for Xerxe. He didn't have Halo Blades, that's why. I'm not kidding. So I watch Ender's Rek'Sai so much that normally when you run Halo Blades, you can land all 3 of your Qs within the knockup. So what you normally do is Q, Q, E. And then if you can land the last auto, you normally will, but you'll often just use your ult instead, and that's more than enough to get yourself an execute. And so when I was looking at that play, I was like, why didn't his Q come out that quickly? And it's because he wasn't running Hail of Blades, it's because he was running Conqueror instead. So I honestly think if he was running Hail of Blades, he would have found that solo kill there. But yeah, there you go.
Well, we'll see if the Kong pays off for him some of the map, because I'm sure Ender is tweeting furiously right now, saying, wait, if you had Halo Blades, you would have got that. Bottom lane tower falls in favor of Origen. Upset is sitting about 6,000 gold right now, where Rekkles and Hylissang are about 3,000 to 4,000 on either champion. In the top lane, however, Rekkles and Hylissang have been able to take 3 plates off this turret, and maybe we'll get one more. They decide against staying around because they know Upset is on his way. Looks like it actually might be an Infinity Edge second here on the AD carry, as I don't believe Runan's builds out of the Quick Cloak.
Oh, don't test me on my component.
No, I've been playing a bunch of AD carry recently on my Smurf. If any teams are looking for one, I'm gold 2, by the way, like 60% win rate. I'm gold. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it doesn't. But I'm gonna check it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Zeal plus Dagger.
Kirchi's Shard, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, because I'm always wrong when it comes to itemization for AD carries. Like, I know what the full builds are, so I'm going to quickly move away from this. Matt and Drake spawns in 15 seconds, Medic. That's likely going to be the primary objective.
Oh, it does, because Zeal builds out of Cloak. That's the mistake I made.
God damn it, Medic.
Yeah, I forgot
the
Zeal.
This is why you can't test me on these things.
I wasn't testing you, I was testing myself, and I came up wanting, as I have done so many times in the past, sadly. But come back to the game, as you say, Mountain Drake up very soon here, Vedius. In fact, it's already up.
I wonder if... See, now I'm sitting here asking myself component questions because I see the early Null Magic Mantle in Nukeduck's inventory. So at first I thought, oh, he's probably going for Merc Treads, but then he's also completed his...
He's got Sorcerer's Shoes, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, he might be rushing Banshee's Veil, trying to secure that, because I understand that against Cassio, if you block the poison, then it's great. Yeah. But it's super easy to proc Banshee's Veil as a Cassio because you just land E, and because the cooldown is so low, then it's...
It's
so
like
I don't think it makes sense to go Banshee's Veil against the Cassio. So he might just be building it for the early MR. Hook does land in top lane.
Yeah, onto Hylissang. That's not the target you really want, and Destiny has some damage turned back around onto him. The heals come out. Upset. Not going to go any further. Does land the root. This is the thing about Thresh. You're actually surprisingly squishy, especially if you're going towards Redemption, which is the build that Destiny's gone for.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and we saw that right there. And Hylissang, by going for the Sunfire, is also very tanky. So you saw that he was actually sustaining a huge amount of damage in that 2 versus 2, and notice that Nemesis now has Prior in mid, so he's using that to move into topside jungle, and Selfmade is clearing out the river. So he has his eyes set on the top lane. They want to try and secure this tower, but Xerxe is here to cover. Level 10, big level advantage. They're looking for plays.
Upset going for the root. Oh, Destiny doesn't quite land the hook onto Hylissang, who was waiting in the bush to devour his AD carry. Xerxe here, still a 2-level advantage in the jungle, has the Black Cleaver on its way alongside the Warrior Enchant finished. Actually looks like the magic resist was purely magic resist, as you now have a Oblivion Orb complete on Nukeduck in the middle lane, so maybe just wanted something to survive against the Cassio.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Against double AP and Selfmade and Nemesis, like, it's perfectly reasonable to itemize that way. I'm curious as to what he does build it into later. We'll keep track of that. But notice that Nukeduck is now coming in on the flank.
Nemesis, the Petrifying Gaze was dodged away, and that means the Equalizer can come down. Nemesis doesn't have Flash, but does have the Seraph. Xerxe on the chase here. If he lands that
Oh, he missed it. Oh, that was close.
If he lands that, he was going to roar his way into the fight. Selfmade. Excuse me?
It may have been to just zone the bot lane of Origen away
he
to
definitely
allow
zoned them for a second.
I mean, for sure. But I don't know if he was looking for a pick, because his team definitely wasn't in a position to set up that play. Tahm Kench ultimate now to help his AD carry get out of harm's way as Origen set their eyes on another outer tower. And Origen, they've had great control over this early game. A lot of it obviously comes off the back of winning the 2v2 bot lane and Xerxe camping the top side of the map, to mean that Alphari is now just straight up winning that 1 versus 1 with the Trinity Force already completed. He's constantly forcing Bwipo to play more defensively, and Rekkles and Hylissang, well, they're actually doing pretty well in the straight up 2 versus 2s. Unfortunately, if the jungler or anyone from the side of Origen shows up, they can't commit to that fight just because of the big difference between some of the itemization. There's the GP ultimate, there's the Rumble ultimate that could come down, and the fact that Xerxe is level 11 as well. So Fnatic don't really want to fight right now. They're going to rely on the scaling aspect of their comp. I do still think they have a very solid late game, and I think that as the game goes longer, it's going to be harder for Origen to play, but right now, with the goal lead that they have, with the itemization that they're working towards, they should be feeling very comfortable.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you look back at the first dragon that Xerxe was almost able to get in and steal, and wonder if Origen being on a quicker clock towards Soul Point, especially with it being a Cloud Drake, could be the difference in this game. Because if Fnatic do scale up, if they're able to be the pests that they were in the last game and delay, their scaling does look very strong. And we are on a much longer clock for that Cloud Soul. Origen still needs to get 3 more dragons if they're going to hit it. Xerxes managed to catch out Nemesis here. No Flash, remember. The Petrifying Gaze is going to land. The Void Rush will come out just in time, but Nemesis is able to get the kill. And now Bwipo's fighting off towards the bottom side as Nukeduck forced away. The Flash in. Upset. There's the hook, though. You can see the jump in from Selfmade. He goes golden. Hylissang gobbles up Bwipo to get him out. The Moonlight Vigil's going to connect as well. And Selfmade is down. 1 for 1 so far in this trade. Hylissang trying to get away, but he doesn't have the Flash. All he's got is an exhaust. And at the moment, the stopwatch won't delay for long enough. Healed up with a Piercing Darkness, but in the end he will fall, and Origen get 2 kills.
So initially that play did not look promising for Origen. Xerxe dropping so quickly meant that Fnatic were in a position to turn it around, but the moment they chased onto the rest of Origen, that was when Destiny came up clutch, but now they have the right set on Alphari.
Yeah, it feels like he's being a bit greedy staying around here. Got the movement speed to Cannon Barrage to try and turn it back. Whoa, Rekkles takes half his health. Senna is a squishy champion, and when you're playing into a Trinity Force with that Sheen proc, it can be pretty surprising how much damage a Gangplank can put out.
Yeah, he does use his ultimate there, so he's not going to have that available for a while, and with the Drake spawning in about 40 seconds, he may end up regretting that, but we'll see as we jump back into the replay. So let's see how all this action started off. Xerxe has information on where the Cassio is. Great showcase from our observers utilizing the Xerxe passive to identify where Cassio has been locked down, so the knockup comes through. And again, like, you're looking at this, he gets stunned up by a great Cassio ultimate from Nemesis to lock him down and then to disengage. And this is where they're like, okay, we can chase onto upset. The Flash comes through, but then a great hook with the box. Selfmade actually flashes in and gets hit by the box himself. He gets slowed down, can't lock down upset, and you actually create a 4 versus 2 situation because Nemesis can't follow. Rekkles doesn't have his ultimate available to offer the utility, or rather the healing and damage that it offers. So then they can just chase down Hylissang, and they end up finding 2 quick kills, even though, because Bwipo is able to escape. So great stuff there from Origen. They're continuing to expand their gold advantage.
And they got the Rift Herald and put it down just in time in this middle lane. However, Bwipo has a flank. Upset with the Lantern. We'll try and dodge away. Bwipo trying to land that Darkin Blade. They jump in. Upset's very low already, but Bwipo caught underneath the turret now as Upset can open up the big guns. Xerxe going in for the knockup, but Hylissang's going to take a lot of damage, and Bwipo's going to get spat out right into the jaws of Origen, who can't quite get him down. Moonlight Vigil connects, and Upset goes unstoppable. 5-0 now on this Aphelios, and Origen can turn towards that Cloud Dragon.
And Origen are just winning out on every single fight. When we came into this series, there was a lot of discussion around who's going to look stronger. And after the first 2 games, everyone said that it was game, set, and match. Easy 3-0 for Fnatic. And coming into game 4, I looked at this draft and I thought, I don't know about this. Origen having to have a good early game against Fnatic, I think is a challenge. Like, yes, they did it in game 3, but I don't know if they can do it again, and they've done it. And now they've held on to this lead, and now they're in a position where they get to team fight when they have such a big gold advantage, and that's where they thrive. Team fighting is what Origen does so well, and they're executing perfectly. They're playing around Alphari, they're playing around Upset, and Destiny is landing some crucial hooks. His ultimates have been game-changing, and now Origen are controlling this game. They have secured 2 Drakes. We finally get the Cloud Souls. No Zillion. This time there's no Zillion medic. However, Cloud Soul with the GP ultimate, with the Rumble ultimate, with the Aphelios ultimate, these are all such crucial ultimates that when they're available more often, just gives Origen the opportunity to fight even more often. And right now here in Game 5, they are looking good, they're looking strong. They still have a lot to do to close this one out, but they're looking to take us to Game 5 now.
I would be so hyped if we have. Imagine that 2 playoff series, both of them going to Game 5. I'd be even more excited for Misfits Rogue tomorrow as well. We'll see if Origen are able to hold on to it, because they were in a similar position in the last game, and the Fnatic were able to keep that gold difference at about this mark, about 5,000 or so, and just stall and stall and stall. And if Fnatic get to stall this game, where you've got the Cassia, you have a lot of power coming out from the center as well.
The only problem is that Fnatic don't have a split push option like they did before, because the Aatrox cannot just
I think you underestimate Hylissang.
Do I?
Nah, maybe you don't. Hylissang hit with the Moonlight Vigil. Infernum comes down, doesn't do as much damage as they like. Is able to walk out of that one. Ultimate's burnt with the Equalizer and the Moonlight Vigil. And actually, Fnatic burnt nothing to get Hylissang out.
I mean, he's a tanky boy. Good hook lands, but no follow-up. Destiny's
now out of position because of that. Flashes away, the last Embrace coming out, he's healed up. Bwipo's going to take a lot of damage, and off towards the bottom side of this, you can see Xerxe trying to fight, but a great Dawning Shadow will do a lot of healing, and Xerxe is the first to fall. Bwipo, though, getting chased down by Upset. Can't quite get the kill. Fnatic linking health bars, but managing to walk out alive.
So that was a fight on 2 fronts there. It looked like Fnatic was trying to collapse on Destiny initially. He doesn't end up dropping, but then Xerxe and Alphari were diving onto the backline of Fnatic, and they were not able to find any kills. So yes, this hook initially lands from Destiny, but it doesn't make any sense. The rest of his team are not in a position to follow up, so Fnatic's like, let's just punish him. He flashes out, he gets a good heal from Nukeduck. Meanwhile, Xerxe and Alphari are looking to dive onto the 3 of Fnatic. Knockup isn't enough, because look at the shielding that just comes through from Hylissang from the ultimate of Rekkles on top of the grey health. And then while the E does come out onto Nemesis, he then gets the Seraph shield, which helps keep him alive. So I think the target focus there from Xerxe was just a little bit off. He shouldn't have been trying to kill Hylissang. His goal should have been killing Nemesis or Rekkles, and it ends up costing him his life. So it ends up being a 1-for-0 in favor of Fnatic, but no real advantages gained either side.
Yeah, it felt like he was split as well, because he tried to kill Hylissang and then ulted Nemesis. And I wonder if, just with all of them being on top of each other, he ulted the wrong one. Because if he ults Hylissang
I think in the last moment, he realized that his ult was not enough to kill Hylissang with all those shields, so he just changed targets. I think that because he landed his Ferocious Bite onto Nemesis as well, so I think that if he just committed to Nemesis at the start of the fight, he probably would have been fine. But he just didn't factor in how much grey health Hylissang was going to get and how big the shield would be from Rekkles' ultimate as well. So to be fair though, Nemesis could have just popped his Seraphs even earlier, so regardless of the target, I think it was going to be very difficult for Xerxe to successfully find that kill, because the shielding on the 2 was just going to be so extreme.
Well, Fnatic able to win out that last fight. As you said, it was a battle on 2 fronts. Alphari wasn't really able to get onto Bwipo or onto that backline that they wanted. And now we are 25 minutes in. It's a 4,000 gold difference. Cerelia's was the first item from Destiny instead of the Redemption that I expected. He's constantly getting harassed by Hylissang and Rekkles in this middle lane. Hylissang very willing just to tank up the turret, and you can see Destiny down to lower than half HP. Hylissang now has the Gargoyles and the Sunfire Cape complete. Let's look at where we are in terms of other items. 3 items on Upset. Morello Nomicon complete on Nukeduck. He keeps going for that first against this Senna instead of grabbing himself the Leandries.
Still holding onto that Null Magic Mantle as well.
Yep. And the Doran's shield. That's the most important part.
He does have a lot of components for the Banshee's Veil right now. So, but he could also pivot this itemization into pretty much anything, because this builds into almost all AP items in our game. But he could also be working towards the Andries. He could be working towards Void Staff. He has quite a few options. The Tahm Kench ult is going to be used bot to see if they can lock down Alphari. This does expose the Baron, but Nemesis is shoving top, and Bwipo has TP, so I think it's super dangerous to just rush this one down.
Just actually do it. You've got Crescendum, you've got Kalibum, you've got the best guns from Upset to do this. Selfmade's going to try and get into it, and you can see actually Nemesis is teleporting down towards the bottom side. Oh no, it's Bwipo teleporting, and it's Nemesis teleporting down towards the bottom side of this fight. They've looked for Selfmade. Xerxe down to below half HP.
Wait, upset.
Oh, a great hook from Destiny stops Upset from getting caught out. Now he's able to flash, but Bwipo able to land the final Darking Blade, and he takes him out. And now this is an awful fight for Origen. Another good hook comes out from Destiny. The Void rush in. Bwipo healing all the way through it, and now Fnatic can find their fight. They can find the people that they want to catch out. Nukeduck trying to do what he can, but Bwipo low. Rekkles and Selfmade here in time. Destiny with a good play. The Lantern coming out, but Nukeduck would take it to his certain death, but he might be dead anyway. Last Embrace is used. The Darking Blade connects, and Fnatic find a perfect fight in the river.
Absolute disaster for Origen. Upset, the key carry of the team, ends up falling. His positioning was poor. Origen, they thought that they caught out Selfmade, but it seemed like the execution was just not there. They should have made a decision to either commit to the Baron and then turn, and then disengage after not finding Selfmade, or they should have just stuck on the Baron and looked to kill it. But now the game has flipped completely on its head, and let's have a look back at exactly how this one played out. So the TP comes through, Destiny does land a hook onto Selfmade, and let's look at the follow-up CC. So the Flay comes through, a great ultimate from Selfmade stops the rest of Origen following through, and then look at the positioning from Selfmade here. He recognizes that he's overstepped, the Lantern isn't available because I think the Gangplank just took it, and then when he flashes out, he just flashes into the warm embrace of Bwipo, who just shuts him down, and with him gone, there's just not enough damage on the side of Origen. There's nothing left, so Fnatic can just run Origen down. And now Fnatic sit with the Baron, and we talked about the scaling avenue. That one crucial mistake could mean that Fnatic is now so much stronger in the teamfights. Look, Nemesis is level 16. This dude is at 3 items now. Like, Nukeduck's not going to be able to match him. When it comes to these fights, I think that Nemesis is just going to be able to dominate.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, because that Baron is going to allow Fnatic to push in this middle lane. And now Origen, equal on gold. They do have the Cloud Soul as an avenue to get out of the game, but we will see if they can manage to get it, because Fnatic, as you say, have a lot of control in this game and are only going to get more gold as these turrets start to fall.
Origen were looking so good for the vast majority of this game, but that one mistake could end up costing them this whole series. Like, the amount of swing that has given over to Fnatic is absolutely huge. And yes, while Rekkles is very poor, he's still completed 2 of his lethality items. He's working on his 3rd. Hylissang is so tanky, which means there's such a strong front line for Fnatic to play behind. And the gap between Bwipo and Alphari is now starting to close. Here we go, Fnatic looking to dive.
Nukeduck already almost down. He gets caught out and now upsets the next target. They're just dead. Origen can't do anything about this. They just get swept off the map. Summoner's Rift is a graveyard for Origen players, and you can see Fnatic able to take 3, only lose 1, and now can push in for an inhibitor.
Wow, and they just tower dived Origen. There was like nothing that stood in their way. They didn't even need Nemesis. I was just talking about how Bwipo had closed the gap against Alphari. He transcended the gap. He flew through the gap. This man was just so strong. And then just when it looked like he was about to die, he also had Hylissang's peel, but it wasn't enough. And now that's going to be 2 inhibitors down. Fnatic have instantly flipped this game around, and Origen, it looks like they're not going to be able to hold on for much longer.
It's not over yet, Vedius, but it is dire straits here for Origen. Fnatic, after one fight, have just totally turned this game on its head. The Baron is about to fall off, but they have got everything they wanted out of it. Double inhibs down. You've got a Cassio who's building up towards a death cap. You have a huge Bwipo as well with that Death's Dance and Black Cleaver. He is doing absolute work on this Aatrox. We know now, well, we knew before, why it's been banned against him in basically every game Fnatic have played.
It's a situation, though, where Xerxe had a 2-level advantage on Selfmade for pretty much the entire game, and now Selfmade has a level advantage on Xerxe. Yes, Xerxe did just turn 14, but the fact that Nemesis is 3 levels over Nukeduck, Upset is strong, but he's not as strong as Nemesis, and now they're looking for the collapse. Nemesis, no flash.
Upset caught out again. He tries to blast cone out, but he is just locked down, and Bwipo will take him. The flash over the wall from Hylissang. He wants more. He wants a piece of this action. Xerxe is going to try and run away. Bwipo with the World Ender healed up, shielded up by the Dawning Shadow, and you can see, like, Upset can't go anywhere. Upset can't walk anywhere on this map.
Yeah, that was a great collapse from Fnatic. Good utilization of the Tahm Kench ultimate to catch Upset completely off guard, and now with so much of the damage just disappearing, Origen, they're on their last legs. They have to hold this inhibitor tower for as long as they can, but Bwipo is pushing in the bot lane as well. Super minions are coming in from everywhere. This is the last hold for Origen.
But how do you hold without your AD carry? He's most of your gold right now. Alphari can try and do something. He doesn't have the cannon barrage. He's used it. That turret is going low as Bwipo pushes in the Nexus towers down towards the bottom side. Origen, your last legs is your last stand. You got to do something. You got to make a fight happen. Rekkles down below half HP, but the Nexus towers are being focused down by the super minions, and that's all 3 inhibitors down. And now the push comes on. Fnatic, 5 members strong, upset, back alive, and we'll see. Can they hold on? Origen, knocked back. They've caught Xerxe. He goes golden. Destiny locked up in the last embrace as well. Nemesis steps forward, but he's actually getting chunked out. Down towards the bottom side of the fight. Nemesis is holding off 2 when Bwipo's taken 1. Upset. You got to do something miraculous here. He gets the shutdown of Bwipo. Nukeduck flashes back onto his fountain, but that's the second Nexus tower down. You can see Upset trying to get the damage on Rekkles. He gets him. Nukeduck, and Origen have somehow held on to this game.
Just barely were Origen able to hold the line. Nukeduck is looking to find that final chase onto Hylissang. They want to get that ace, and they might be able to secure the Cloud Soul, but their base is in tatters. There are no structures left. All 3 inhibitors are down. And yes, Fnatic, they couldn't quite close out the game here. But look at how they're able to play this one out. So Destiny drops a lot, but Upset is left untouched on the backline, while Alphari is just 1v1ing against Nemesis. Selfmade quickly runs out of mana, and the moment Upset takes down Bwipo and Nemesis and Selfmade overstep, that's when Origen realize that they can commit to the rest of this fight. They're able to take down Rekkles, they take down Selfmade, and Hylissang has to run with his tail between his legs.
But still, 3 inhibitors down for Fnatic. No real... for Origen. There's a Cloud Drake on the map. It would be the sole Drake for Origen, but how do you even get out of your base? You can't step anywhere. You can't do anything. Baron up in 20 seconds time as well. Fnatic are in total control of this game. Origen, it would be a miracle. It would take something miraculous for them to fight back. We've seen that they can do it. But the question is now, with Fnatic continuing to scale up with the death cap almost complete on Nemesis, with 3 lethality items on Rekkles, you cannot discount the amount of damage Fnatic can put out in a heartbeat.
So the thing is, the gold is even, but it's not really even, because you kind of have to look at relative damage, and Nemesis is just going to output so much more than so many of what Origen can actually offer. Alphari does have his TP up, but Origen can't really leave their base to check and contest the Baron. Their best bet is to hold the line once again and try and force a fight against Fnatic, but the problem is, with 3 waves of super minions walking into the base, there's just going to be so much that Origen has to deal with. I don't know how they can find a successful fight. Look at all these super minions in the top lane.
Well, we'll see if they can. Abyssal Voyage is used down towards that bottom lane. I think that's Hylissang just by himself using the Baron buff to push in the wave, and this is like 4 super minions. Upset's going to try and clear it out. World Ender used by Bwipo. It's last chance saloon for Origen. A good hook comes out onto Selfmade. He uses the stopwatch, and now Hylissang's in range for the Devour. Xerxe's already almost dead, and he's gone. And now it's a 4v5. Moonlight Vigil coming out, doesn't connect onto Rekkles, doesn't connect onto Selfmade. The hook's still missing. The hook's going wide. Hylissang puts down the exhaust, and he's just trying to focus down the Nexus. Bwipo fighting off towards the top side. Upset opening up, but that is the Nexus, and that is the series for Fnatic. They will meet Mad Lions in our winners bracket next week.
Wow. What a final game to round out the series. I thought we were going to game 5. Medic, I thought that we were going to go all the way. It looked like this was Origen's game, but that crucial Baron throw gave Fnatic everything that they needed to close out this series. What a fantastic turnaround. What great control after finding that tiny advantage. And while Origen definitely made Fnatic work for it, I think Fnatic still showcased what they were capable of, and yes, there were a couple of individual mistakes this game, like losing the 2v2 bot, the fact that top lane got shut down so heavily, definitely some things to evaluate for Fnatic. This was not the clean 3-0 that we expected it to be after the first 2 games, but Fnatic still ultimately getting the 3-1 and looking very convincing moving into the next round.
Yeah, they really did. I think there's a few things that they'll want to work on. Game 3, Game 4, there were mistakes made, especially around the bottom lane. You know, losing out the 2v2 is something that Fnatic will have to look at and have to understand how they change things. But out of the 4 teams we've seen over the last 2 days, I think Fnatic stand, head and shoulders above everyone else right now.
Yeah, at least that's what we've seen. And of course, we still have Misfits versus Rogue tomorrow. We may see something impressive from them. But as a result of this, Origen will now move down into the lower bracket. And as we've already said, Fnatic will stay in the upper bracket. They will get to go up against Mad Lions in a best of 5 next week. That's definitely not what everyone was expecting.
No.
But now Origen will be the next challenge for the winner of Misfits versus Rogue, and then the winner of that series will go up against G2. So we have a really exciting week next week, but as you rightly said, Fnatic is looking good, and I cannot wait to see what they can do up against Mad, because Mad just seem to be the young rookie upstarts that keep defying expectations. Maybe they can do it against Fnatic. I'm sure they've learned a lot in this series watching Fnatic and Origen play, so it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with next week.
Yeah, it definitely is. It also means that either G2 or Origen will not be in our final week of playoffs, which is a little bit of a surprise for me, I'll be honest. You guys, you can get involved at home and vote for your Kia player of the series at LEC on Twitter. Bwipo, Nemesis, and Selfmade are your options. Some very good options there. I think looking at the first 2 games, Nemesis and Selfmade are definitely up there, but Bwipo had a barnstormer of a game in that last one.
Yeah, I think while Bwipo definitely did play well in the final game, for me, the ultimate player of the series has been Nemesis. He's been incredibly consistent, I think, throughout the entire series. I think he showcased a reliability in what he's capable of and how you can fall back on him when things do get very difficult. And while I don't think he always has those performances that, when you think of a Perks where he's like making all these crazy plays that dominate games, I think what he does showcase is that when the chips are down, when you need someone to fall back on, he's someone that you can always rely on. And I think his Azir performance was very solid. His Yasuo was incredibly good. And he's played 4 different champions across this series, showed a wide array of options that he can bring to the table. And I think that overall he's had a great series. So props to Nemesis. I think he looked very good.
Yeah, I think we can all agree, though, Hylissang was robbed. That Trundle performance.
He lost that game, Medic. And a large part of why he lost is because he kept dying and Upset got super fed.
He was really distracting a lot of the time. And I think, when you role play as a champion, being a troll, playing a troll, that's the next level, in my opinion.
Right, that is true. He did really embody what that champion is. But he had a solid Tahm Kench performance as well. In any case, really I think a lot of question marks are now going to be asked around Fnatic, because if they had just 3-0'd, then you'd be like, okay, cool, Fnatic look like the best team in Europe. But then, they lost 2 early games against Origen. So maybe there's not a clear-cut gap between them and everyone else. Maybe they are exploitable. And you have to be scared when you're going up against Mad Lions, because they will exploit those mistakes. But I think what Fnatic showed is the moment they have a grip on the game, they do not let go. And they have a very firm grip. And I think that of the teams that we've seen so far, when it comes to the mid to late game, they're definitely one of the cleanest that we currently have in playoffs. So while there are definitely things to poke holes at, definitely looking incredibly stable and consistent, and definitely a force to be reckoned with right now in the LEC.
I definitely agree with you, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Fnatic and Mad Lions face up against each other next week, because my expectation, if you told me that was going to be a series in this playoffs, would be, Fnatic easy 3-0. But we have seen Fnatic make mistakes. We have seen Mad Lions play at a much higher level than I think we expected them to, especially since this is the first best of 5 series they ever played. I was joking they should just retire, because how is it going to get better from here unless they win playoffs, right? Unless they
How crazy would that be? How crazy if Mad is in our final? That's
if Mad is even in the semi-final, I will be whether they will be in the semi-final.
They're guaranteed top 3.
Well, I'm amazed. I am amazed. To hear more from one of the Fnatic players, we're going to hand it over to Law, who is standing by with Selfmade.
Thank you very much, and congrats, Selfmade, on reaching round 2 here.
Thank you, and hello, everyone.
Hi. There's been a shift in this series, it seems, with the first 2 games being really one-sided. Then game 3 was, special, let's say, and then
it was for sure special and very fun.
Oh, you know what? Let's talk about this third game here. What happened? Look.
Okay, so what happened third game?
We're having so much fun.
Okay, so TLDR of third game is coach gap, right? They had just better draft, and we had really hard time to play. And also my support decided to first time a new support in playoffs.
Sweet.
So yeah, it was kind of sweet, right? And then for some reason, like they were really ahead, but they still couldn't close the game. So we actually realized that we can maybe try to like let Hylissang just farm on side, do his job, right? Split push, and my job was to tactical int and buy time from enemies. So yeah, it kind of looks like I was straight up running it down, right? I died like 11 times, but honestly, that was part of the strat that we had to take. And well, it took them 33 minutes to close the game when the game should be over in around 20, I think. So
You were just playing with them.
yeah, it kind of looked like it. It looked at the start like they were playing with us, but it wasn't like this, you know?
So from the first two games that were really one-sided to the Clown Fiesta in game 3 and then game 4, they were actually leading in the early game. So how do you explain the difficulty in getting a third victory in this best of 5?
I mean, first two games were like super easy for us. It kind of felt like we would be playing Clash, not like LEC playoffs. No offense to Origen, because as I'm talking a lot on Twitter, it's just online games, right? Everything is completely different than on stage. So games like this are normal, just like you guys also saw yesterday what was going on in Mad Lions against G2. And yeah, like those first two games were pretty easy. And then when it came to fourth game, we basically decided, like, because the bans were all the time the same. So we actually realized that we should just take Gragas on first, and what else happened, right? It's like Xerxe specific, because it just feels like this guy can play only two champions, which is Karthus and Gragas.
Yeah.
And it was already kind of proved back in regular split. Like a lot of teams banned it against him, and he's super lost, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of our strat after third game. We just said, whatever, guys, just first pick Gragas and hope for the best, you know?
Okay. It explains
if they want Senna, give them Senna, then we get Aphelios and stuff like this. But still, it's like they actually had a good early game in the fourth game, right? Because they played well around top lane, and like they killed my bot lane 2v2, so it was like this game should be lost, but then the whole natural action happened and we got really lucky there. So yeah, I guess luck was on our side this series.
I wouldn't call it luck, but we will let the analysts decide on this one. But taking a step back here, this was your first playoff series with Fnatic. How was it? Like on a personal side?
I love my team. What else can I say? It's like just pleasure, because like if we win, we win together. If we int together, you know? Like nobody
it's a team
blames.
Effort.
Yeah, it is team effort, exactly. And we proved that today, I think, especially in the third game.
I agree. And as Fnatic advance, you will have to face off against Mad Lions here in round 2. You were the rookie of the split in Spring Split 2019 last year. And as we heard a lot of praise towards this rookie lineup with the Mad Lions, what is your take on their recent success against G2 yesterday? Crazy game, really.
I mean, again, like everything can happen. For example, the series yesterday, G2 could also win if Caps hit the Nexus, right?
Yeah.
Just like one basic attack off, but at the same time, I don't think games like this would ever happen on stage. So it was just pure fiesta from both teams. Like one game, even the fourth game, right? When like Mad Lions was 10k ahead, minute 5 with like Elise, whatever they played, and then randomly they lose in 5 minutes.
Okay, so with what we've seen from you, sorry, you wanted to say something maybe.
Like, what I want to say is just that it's really hard to judge right now which team is good, which team is bad, because anything can happen, you know, like there's complete different mentality when you play from home than when you play in front of the crowd.
Yeah.
And for example, when it comes to Mad Lions, I think this team is, like, the rookies they have are really good. Especially, I think Shadow is like, he has a lot of potential, but their bot lane, I think, is on a really, really high level. I like their bot lane a lot, and I think they might be like future LEC superstars even. And when it comes to actually giving Rookie of the Split award, I will give it to Kaiser, most likely.
Nice support for once.
If you wanted to ask for that, yeah. I mean, I'm the type of guy who I think support is a like really, really broken role, right? And it has the most impact in the game. So if you see like Mad Lions bot lane doing so well, it's mostly because of actually Kaiser not being like scared of making plays. It's like, you know, support carries AD carry, right? And then AD carry does his job. So it's usually like this.
So keeping that in mind, and based on the crazy games we've seen from you today and the crazy game we saw from Mad Lions yesterday, how do you think you're going to match against them next week?
I mean, again,
Hard to say,
I can't promise anything, but we'll try our best, right? And actually, I can promise one thing, that the games will be crazy again, right? There's nothing to hide. I think it will again, mostly come to who has the draft that it feels comfortable with. But I think we are a better team than them, which doesn't mean, I don't mean we're gonna 0-3-0 them or we're gonna win for sure. We will see. We will try our best, but it will be a hot best of 5 for sure.
We'll see. I mean, 1 week to prepare from both sides, and we just want to have banger games, and that's all what we've been having so far.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. We have to send it over to PGL, but thank you so much, Selfmade, for the interview.
Thank you, too.
Congrats on reaching round 2 with Fnatic here. And to finish this day, you can take it away, Xerxe.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Oh, is this working? I can see Bwipo. Can you say something, Gabriel? I can't hear him. Maybe you guys can hear him. We're figuring it out, but this is the post-game lobby, by the way. And I'm Xerxe, joined by Ender and by Bwipo. I hear something. Let me figure it out.
You don't hear me? Wait, let me figure this one out.
Oh, now we can, but it seems like it's a bit delayed or something. We're figuring it out. Let me just ask you a question and you can answer, and I think that's going to work. So, congratulations. We just had a lot of context from Selfmade as well. But for me, it's kind of hard to judge what you guys' level is, because it went from being such a stomp to such a weird game 3 and then a finishing game 4. What feeling do you walk away from this best of 5?
Oh, I think the first 2 games, they disrespected our draft a lot. I think we ended up getting the Zilean as well as Senna, and it worked out very well for us. We got 2 good bot lane matchups there. I got good top lane matchups as well. And then in games 3 and 4, it got a little bit harder because they started drafting much better.
Okay, well, when it comes to kind of what you expected of OG and what they threw at you, did you... Oh?
I don't know how to fix it. I need a tech guy. Wait, I need a tech guy. Let me have a look.
I can hear you, so I hope people at home can hear
I think it's my webcam mic.
We need an IT guy.
I need an IT guy. Where's my manager, man? Yeah, it's my webcam mic. That's why
Hey, it's a good thing your top lane play is better than your, webcam skills, so...
I mean,
it's the Windows default input. Hey, Bwipo, click on the bottom at your Windows default input, the speaker, and then open sound settings, and then select the right one on input. So whatever your headset is, or your mic.
Ooh, that should be better.
Maybe that works.
Is that better? I don't know. Is it? No, it's not.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay, wait. Now it should be better. Is it better? No, is it better?
You know what? That's what I felt when I was looking at this series. Is it better? Is it going to be better?
I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Let me have a look. I'm trying to figure this one out. I mean, I'm still kind of hoping my manager shows up and saves me, but it's not happening. Just like I was hoping for.
We kind of hear you.
I don't know. Okay, I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna go find him. All right, give me a sec.
Okay.
He just beats out. This is like how he plays top lane, right? He's laning for a little while. It's that's not going great. Let's just gank bot lane,
All right,
get Rekkles up here.
In. Let's see. Okay, let's play this. And here he comes. Oh, it's actually Mithy.
Wait, that's just Mithy.
Mithy is a
He's
coach
live
in
coaching
real
him.
life. He's also an IT guy. He's looking at the settings. He's checking if it is the Windows settings. We're going to go over it. Is it the headset? Is there another mic in the vicinity? Do we need to switch it off or not? Currently, we do see that Bwipo is very concentrated. As always, he is in a game. He is also right now on this technical situation. You need to have a lot of tools in your toolbox if you want to come on the EGL here at the LEC. Mithy is now really under pressure. He has had to do 4 drafts already, but we'll have to see if he can solve this puzzle or if it will not work. I'm running out of breath. I don't know how casters do this.
No, you just keep going, and then you toss it over to me, and then I pick up from you because I have to come in with the analysis. So as you can see here, Bwipo has adopted the sit-in chair approach, even though Mithy is trying to operate the computer. He's going to do the classic stand over shoulder and try to direct you. So at some points he tries to tell Bwipo what to do, others he's holding the mouse.
Bwipo, can you hear us?
I can.
Bwipo, because you can just keep it like this, because we can actually hear you. It's just not like super loud, but we can hear you.
There's no webcam mic. Can you fix it?
Let's just.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
No, this is fine.
Okay. Fine. We'll do it like this. We're doing it live.
It's fine.
All right.
Did you check here?
I think
This is content.
It works. For sure. It works. It's fine. We'll play it like we'll do it live. It's fine.
So Bwipo, was figuring out the audio harder or easier than beating OG?
I mean, there didn't seem to be a solution to my audio problem, and there was a very clear solution to beating OG, so I would actually give IT the victory here.
Okay, a victory to IT. I'm going to put us back on track, because otherwise we'll say that we are not being serious enough, which I think we do need to talk a bit seriously about these playoffs, because they are going a bit crazy. Maybe final thing about the series. We had a certain expectation of Origen and about how they have these players that are always very good but fail to take that next step. So did they play exactly as you expected, and did you see some evolution in them in this best of 5?
I mean, honestly, I feel like the biggest problem I had from watching them play the series was that they're a really slow team. They were always known as a slow team, and they never really fixed that issue, which I think was like a very glaring issue in Game 4 when they had such a big lead that they weren't really doing anything and just waiting for us to pick off Aphelios with their composition. So all in all, I don't think they managed to adapt their draft, and that was a good start, but they weren't able to actually translate that into gameplay and start speeding up the game as well, which I think was a big issue for them.
Yeah, from my point of view, it was really interesting because games 1 and 2, like you talk about the draft, you were talking about it a lot as well on the desk. It just felt like they never gave themselves options. Like Xerxe didn't really have any lanes he could play through in game 1. Like they were always playing backwards, if that makes sense, as opposed to having champions that can actually force and make plays. So it was always reacting to you, which is in the Origen style. But then as soon as they changed that up, and all of a sudden instead of like a Yuumi in the bot lane for Destiny, he's on the Thresh, they have way more playmaking ability. And it seemed like that put them in a much better spot. But even then, I think like mid-game of Game 3 especially, the way they managed their waves when they were like looking to take that Baron was just like pretty dreadful when you guys got like the mid lane tower, 2 towers in bot lane and still stopped the Baron from going down. It seemed like you guys just had a better grasp of draft and then how to actually play the map as well.
Bwipo, did you feel... like, how do you walk away from this Game 3 is kind of what I want to get from it, because you could glance over it and say, well, we won the series and it was only our first best of 5 and this and that. But, you know, there still are a couple of best of 5s to play, and very important ones at that. So how much weight do you put into kind of what happened in that early game in Game 3? Now I really can't hear you.
Oh, we lost him. He's MIA
Did you
again.
mute something?
Yeah, what he's probably saying right now is, I thought my job was to like go into a side lane and split push and get all the farm, and then Hylissang dropped out of the Discord call and started split pushing on his own, and you know, not too happy about that one.
I still can't hear you, actually. I don't know what happened. Someone's messing something up for you. Hey, you know, we'll talk a bit more. We will crown the Kia player of the series whilst we're figuring it out.
Let's do it.
It's Nemesis with 55% of the votes. And we've talked about this before, how on a lineup like Fnatic, it's very hard to shine. But he definitely did in this series. And I think he was instrumental to the pressure of Fnatic by having that pressure in his mid lane.
Yeah, it was just sort of how Fnatic were able to unlock him out of mid lane to, you know, in the first couple games find roams towards top. The last game on the Cassiopeia, major damage force right there. But it really is a situation where I feel like when Fnatic have the ability for Nemesis just like piece out of mid lane and start like moving around, like be that piece that can go into top or go into bot, like they just have so much freedom, and that's how they're able to snowball a lot of their games.
That it has. Good for Nemesis. We're going to wait till Bwipo comes back. I do want to hear from you, Ender. Before we thought, okay, maybe this is going to be a blowout for the side of Fnatic over OG. It wasn't quite that. Where do you leave on kind of how strong they are and what they can do in these playoffs?
I mean, I'm still I think Fnatic did play a pretty good day of League of Legends overall. It felt like games 1 and 2 were so clean and, precise with how they played that they seemed very dominant. And then I honestly feel like you heard Selfmade talking in the interview, like how it feels so different playing online. You play 2 games from your home and smash the opposition. All of a sudden, you probably get a little bit looser. You're trying out some new stuff, and it got sloppy for them, but I don't think I would necessarily hold those last 2 games much against Fnatic. I still feel like they're going to be very strong moving into round 2.
All right, well, let's pull up the bracket then and look into that, because as said yesterday, things were thrown into disarray. I heard a noise. I don't know where it came from. Test? No? Okay, cool.
I don't think it's Bwipo.
Okay. We're going to throw up the bracket in just a second. There it is. But of course, because of the craziness that occurred yesterday, Mad was going up against Fnatic for a spot in the final. OG will be going up against the winner of Misfits versus Rogue. And that is not what we had expected.
No, not even a little bit, right? We knew a Fnatic or an OG was going to have to be down in the bottom bracket, but to see G2 down there too is a very big surprise. So we're actually going to get an early G2 OG knockout match, assuming that OG would move on as the favorites here. But I think the game tomorrow is going to be really interesting as well, with Misfits versus Rogue, because both of them had a lot of hype, I feel like, towards the start of the season especially. Misfits went on that massive game winning streak and started cooling off towards the end. So if they can sort of find some of the magic that was working for them, they could be looking at a pretty fun playoffs run.
Yeah, and the big question is who is the best team in the LEC. Luckily, that's why we have our playoffs. But what was a pretty clear picture before is now, for me, been thrown completely into disarray.
So I'm in a really weird position when I'm thinking about who's the best team in Europe, because if you're just basing it off of recency and looking at the playoffs, obviously G2 didn't really look that clean yesterday. I was not impressed with, a lot of their gameplay, especially to the ceiling that we know G2 could hit. So immediately they're sort of taken down a peg. And then you think by default Fnatic would sort of go into the number 1 spot. But I don't think that we are going to ever be able to write off a G2, even with that Game 5 loss against the Mad Lions. I still feel very much like we are going to get in a position where Fnatic probably win next week, and then we see a rematch of G2 Mad. And then, you can only say, will they be able to pull it off and get the finals that everyone expected, which was Fnatic versus G2.
And what do you think about this Fnatic versus Mad matchup? I don't know, because we didn't see a perfect Fnatic today. Did we see a perfect Mad yesterday? Who knows? They did play out of their minds, but maybe this is now just the level we have to expect. Was G2 just way below our expectations? It's a mystery.
So I definitely think, watching the series, G2 underperformed relative to expectations. Everyone knows that. I also think Mad Lions overperformed to a certain extent. But everything Selfmade was saying in the interview about Shadow in the jungle being an absolute monster, everyone saw that Olaf game. He completely 1v9'd it on that pick. And their bot lane as well. I feel like those are, such powerful pieces for Mad Lions that they can really hold their own across their counterparts in Fnatic. So that becomes interesting. And then it's, can Humanoid hold his own in mid lane against Nemesis, and can Arome hold his own against Bwipo in the top lane? And that's where I get more concerned for Mad Lions, and that's where I feel like they're going to have the edge in this, is the solo laners, which we know when they are unlocked on Fnatic, they will disrupt the rest of the map completely and start breaking down anything Mad Lions thought they had going for themselves.
Okay, just as an update for all of you at home, we've lost Bwipo, unfortunately. The tech issues were too big, but his picture is still there, so you can look at that and imagine him, he's always talking
this
about
is the least I've heard Bwipo talking in a PGL.
Forever. With that, we are going to wind down slowly, but not before we talk about tomorrow. We've had 2 best of 5s already and 9 games at that, so we've been a bit spoiled. But tomorrow, we have Misfits versus Rogue to see who will be playing Origen next week. Ender, what do you think?
Oh, there's this is one of those matchups too that I think is going to be really, really close, because going into week 9 in the LEC, everyone was saying, hey, Rogue, they're looking good, they're consistent, they're going to be 4th place, and then they dropped some crucial games, and now I really do feel like this match could go either way. I came into the weekend thinking yesterday was a G2 stomp, today was a Fnatic stomp, and those games were much closer, so now this, I think, has the absolute potential to go a full 5 here. On Misfits' side, I'm especially looking at the jungle mid combination of Razork and Febiven. They've been really smurfing it throughout the LEC this entire year and can sort of disrupt a lot of what Rogue is going to be trying to do.
Yeah, I wonder if things are going like opposite of what we expected, because we expected that first day to be a 3-0 for G2 and it was 5 games, then the second one to be Fnatic favored but closer and it was a 3-1, and now this one is going to be a 3-0 for Rogue or Misfits.
Yeah, this will be the stomp, right?
This will be the stomp. No. I hope not, and I hope we see kind of both Misfits and Rogue having found their level again, because I think for both of them at the end of the split, it wasn't all as clean and as suave as we have come to expect from them. That is tomorrow, though. That'll be all from us here tonight, because without Bwipo, what are we really doing here? He's the guy that supplies the wisdom, and who wants to listen to Ender for an hour, am I right?
What?
No, completely.
Wait a second.
I am just kidding. Thank you so much for sticking by me all day, Ender, and also in this PGL. If you want to watch... Oops. Don't hit the mic. If you want to watch more League of Legends, we have the LCS coming up. FlyQuest versus Evil Geniuses. They kick off their spring playoffs. We're hoping for some good games on the other side of the pond. But here in the LEC, we will be back tomorrow for the last best of 5 of round 1 of the spring playoffs. Misfits versus Rogue. Goodbye. Good evening. Bye.